Welcome into a special edition of I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentri. And Tyson, we had to get this one ripping because Bill Belichick to North Carolina, going to coach some college football, 3-year, $30 million deal. We'll go through kind of our thoughts. NIL, there's some new stuff going on there. But wow, this was reported on a little bit that Bill Belichick was, considering North Carolina, or they were considering him, and kind of was stagnant for a little bit, and now this thing is done. It's finalized. What do you think about the great one coming to North Carolina and being the head coach?
Oh, it is so over for the rest of the ACC. It's just done. I'm sorry, Dabo. It's cool that you won this year. You made the playoff. SMU sneaks in. I mean, this is Darth Vader coming to college football with Michael Jordan's money behind him. And we can get into some of the specifics of the contract. Actually, let's do that right now. Bill Belichick's not going to be able to recruit. He's not going to be able to. Well, the 400-page document that he laid out in front of the North Carolina hiring committee, athletic director, all of those folks, and entailed some things, including minimum salaries that will be set for his assistant coaching staff, the guys he's going to bring with him, your Joe Judges, your Matt Patricias, and all of that stuff. And we'll see, can these guys coach college kids? I'm being a little facetious with it's over for the rest of the ACC. But it also included a general manager type role of recruiting for the NIL. Brad, if this works, that's the future of college football. That's what it's going to be, because Bill, he has the opportunity the same way that Nick Saban did at Alabama, where it was like, I can get you in contact with the NFL now. Like, you don't have to wait to get your draft grade or any of that. I have all the avenues that you need. I can get you where you want to go. I know all the things. I've been there. I've done that. I've won 7 of these things. I know what I'm doing. Brad, 2 tight end sets are back in college football. That's really, what I'm mostly excited about. This is a physical, maybe a little bit different than the basketball on turf that North Carolina has been trying to play under Mack Brown for the last 6-7 years. And sure, I mentioned to you before the show that like going from Mack Brown to Bill Belichick would have sounded way better in 2005. So it's a little interesting to get it in 2024. But I really think this has the potential to be a home run. I understand that he's, it's really a 3-year contract and he's probably out the door. He's going to be 75 years old. And at that point, the guy's addicted to football, but nobody really coaches, well into their 80s. So I think this will be a short-lived thing. We'll see if the Steve Belichick taking over for him at the end of that is real and all that. That's stuff I want to get, let's cross that bridge when we get there. I want to see what the transfer portal looks like at North Carolina. I want to see how many kids sign up willingly to play for this style of head football coach that honestly is missing in college football, because college football is fun and the guys are awesome, and we got to coddle all these kids because of the NIL money and we're scared to lose them. Everybody hits the portal anyways. Everybody transfers anyways. Your recruits don't matter. None of that stuff. I think that this general manager type role that they're flirting with here has the potential to actually be something. And I think it might be a little bit bigger story in the long run than Bill Belichick going to North Carolina. And I don't want to hear a peep about this affecting his NFL legacy at all.
Well, so what the GM thing, it's super intriguing because it's Michael Lombardi who's going to be running this. He's going to be in the GM role. He's leaving VSiN. He's ex-NFL executive, work with Belichick, blah, blah, blah. Now, the GM thing, other schools are going to be doing this, and they've done this a little bit in the past.
Got in basketball and stuff, but this is like real money behind it in like a different way, I think.
Especially because revenue sharing is likely to come to the college football landscape next year. I know Florida's got somebody in place to do this, and they were one of the first big ones in the SEC who said they're going to have a GM. I think Notre Dame's also running somebody out, and I think there's somebody in the West Coast that I'm forgetting off the top of my head who said we're going to have like a GM position. This is the first one, I believe, in the SEC who's going to say that. Like, I don't think Florida State maybe has said that. Clemson certainly not, or at least any of the big ones. So it'll be interesting to see what Michael Lombardi does here, because I don't think he's going to be out recruiting. Bill Belichick, I don't think so either, but is he going to be the delegator of scouts, right? Like, you have different scouts. You're going to be on this, and that's going to be your one thing. That's something I want to pay attention to, because that could be, if the head coach doesn't have to scout and he just comes in for like the final meeting as like the closer, we're looking at a completely different job here at the college football level. As far as the job itself, as far as Bill Belichick being named the head coach of North Carolina, I think this is great for the sport. What are you talking about? Like, people are like, oh, what's going on? How's this going to work? Who cares if it works or not? It's 3 years. Steve, his son, we'll see if he takes over. I mean, he's going to have to leave the defensive coordinator position at Washington. Not sure if that's been announced yet. I'll look that up. You would think it would be the case if he's going to be the head coach in waiting. But this is fun. This is what college sports is about. Spurrier comes back. Pete Carroll left the NFL to go to the USC, brought a different style. Who is it going to be, like, revolutionary? Is it going to be something that changes the way that college football is played with Bill Belichick going to North Carolina? Probably not. But is it going to be awesome to have him on the sideline again? And I'm not a North Carolina basketball fan, but I don't care too much about the Duke-North Carolina rivalry. It's going to be sweet to see him on the side. He's going to play in Dabo Swinney next year in 2025. That's great. So I'm excited for it. I'm rooting for it to work because I think that'd just be a great story, and I think it'd encourage more coaches to do out-of-the-box stuff like this. And so I think it's going to be awesome. And Tyson, on the recruiting thing, to finish out here, you're going to tell me, he's not going to be able to recruit. You're going to tell me that you're an 18-year-old kid looking for a place to play, 17, 16-year-old kid, and Bill Belichick calls you and you're not going to answer the phone? Like, what world are these people living in? That's the first phone call you're answering.
And Bill O'Brien's doing, like, the turnaround that he had at Boston College, and we've sat here on this podcast and been like, well, he's got NFL guys in the building. Like, of course, this was bound to happen. Sure, they didn't win 10 games or anything like that, and I think that's unfair expectations, honestly, to place on Bill Belichick, because if you change his name with Chadwell or whoever else, like, this is a PJ Fleck coming in and taking over the job. A college guy is what I'm trying to say, and you're looking at this team and the roster and where they've been the last couple of years, and you're like, man, if he wins 8 games, that's a home run. If Bill Belichick wins 8 games, that's a home run. Like, I struggle to see, like, are they going to become national championship caliber just off the strength of Bill Belichick? There's a huge talent discrepancy amongst the Big Ten, the SEC, and then even to the ACC. That's at the top teams. But like I said, we'll see what happens in the transfer portal here. But I think this is a hire that it makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that if this works, we could see the reverse funnel, because we had guys, who were, I don't really want to coach in the NFL anymore. I'm going to go be an offensive analyst somewhere. But now I can just go coach. I don't have to worry about the recruiting aspect of it. You know how happy Lane Kiffin is that something like this just happened, and he can look at the boosters at Ole Miss and say, hey, man, I want you to go get Ed Ogeron and Corey Raymond, and those guys are going to recruit for me. I'm just doing the coaching. This is going to be a home run. The talent, like, how much cooler would it have been 2 years ago if Bill Belichick took over with, like, Drake May and Omarion Hampton, Tez Walker, and all of those guys. They don't have those guys in the building right now at North Carolina, so that is something that might need to be ironed out here. But they're going to play a physical brand of football that just doesn't necessarily exist right now in the ACC.
Okay, so right now we're recording on Wednesday. Steve Belichick is still expected to be the defensive coordinator for the University of Washington in their bowl game. After that, there are expectations that he will go join his dad, Bill, at UNC. Now, nothing is imminent yet. Again, as we're recording this, that could change. But right now, he will be on staff at the University of Washington as a defensive coordinator for the bowl game. It could change after that. Jed Fish, the head coach of Washington, has worked with Bill Belichick in the past. Offensive analysts, things like that. So he has NFL experience. He kind of knows the family, work with the family. So we'll see what happens. I'm not quite sure if we're going to get to the point where Steve is going to be named the coach in waiting. But Tyson, I mean, I think this is awesome. I'm excited for this. More stuff will come out. I know you kind of mentioned Patricia, some of the other coordinators that he's had. I haven't found anything imminent about who he's looking to hire. I think Josh McDaniels as OC would be weird at this point in his career. Maybe that's something he'd try to do. I don't know, but do you think is there anybody off the top of your head that you think, longtime Saban guys or Belichick guys, because there's an overlap, who might join him in Chapel Hill?
I think like I think like Joe Judge, and I think like Matt Patricia, and we'll see what happens. Like, look, Brian Daboll is not safe, and we'll see what happens, in New York and stuff like that. But there are guys, this becomes a destination job. He's signed a 3-year, $30 million contract. He's like the same paid head coach in college football right now as Kalen DeBoer. I think he's only $3 million behind Kirby Smart, who's the highest paid coach in college football. There's a $20 million NIL number being floated around. We'll wait to see if that's true. These things are impossible to confirm because it's not, all the way an above board situation. So we don't know if that $20 million number is real. If it is, Brad, they're not messing around, especially with him saying, this is how much you're going to pay my assistants over these next 3 years, or else I'm not going to be able to get the staff that I want in here. Bill Belichick's greatest strength in the NFL was coaching. Bill Belichick's greatest enemy towards the end was drafting, was scouting some of these guys. look, you're not going to go find a Julian Edelman or whatever. Like if Bill Belichick starts signing a bunch of 0-star recruits because they play in the middle of, like they play in Idaho and they're quarterback wide receiver combo, then we probably have a problem. But he has access now to a bunch of guys, and if he can just get them to listen, this could be a really big turnaround for the North Carolina athletic program.
Okay, so more news has just come out, Tyson. The school has now announced that it is a 5-year deal for Bill Belichick. So 5 years, $50 million. That's what's being reported.
Oh, my gosh.
So the initial was 3. Now it's kicked up to 5. Now, that to me screams coach in waiting for Steve. You know, get him on staff, maybe not. I'm not sure. 5 years there. He's still a young guy in terms of the coaching aspect. So we'll see what that means. I mean, that's a leeway. That's a leash. Does that change your thoughts on anything? I mean, I'm still excited about it regardless. But that change kind of what you project UNC football that can be under Bill Belichick?
I mean, one thing that just keeps coming to my head is like, what if he gets Nick Saban to be like a defensive analyst, or even just gets him somewhere in the building? This has the potential to get off the rails. I think that expectations should be lowered for the first year or two, and then we'll really see. Like it has a chance to be a dumpster fire. I don't think it's going to be. This is exactly what Herm Edwards wanted to do at Arizona State, wasn't able to execute, and so we've seen this is like. If I tried to draw an engineering blueprint, it would look a lot like what Herm did, and then somebody with a degree would come in and say, that's not what I want to do at all. And I think that's what Bill is kind of approaching this as. Maybe Antonio Pierce. There are NFL guys now that are on the table here to come back to college football and help out with this whole thing. There are definitely going to be stories about how much, how hard it is for him to connect with the players and all of that stuff. The other part, Brad, this isn't a Deion Sanders thing. This isn't some of these other coaches. We're not going to hear from Bill Belichick in the North Carolina. We're going to see it on the field. And so it just feels a little weird to be projecting this. I think it's going to work, dude. I think that this is a home run.
I do too. I think it's going to be awesome. 5 years for Bill Belichick to be the head coach of North Carolina. NIL has increased from $5 million to $20 million already. Boosters are coming in. That's something notable. So let's keep an eye on this. We'll keep touching on this and covering who he hires, what's going on. We got the coaching carousel going on. I mean, freaking Scott Frost is now hired again. I mean, he's back in action down in the bounce house. That should be interesting. So, we'll do the whole thing on the coaching carousel. If something comes up, we'll mark it down. But Bill Belichick, head coach North Carolina. That's going to do it for a little bonus episode here covering this story. Super fascinating. Like, subscribe, and share the show on the way out. You guys know the deal by now.